I'm Pastor Mark of the Eternals Congregation. Let's start from the beginning. The book of Genesis. More or less, everybody knows it. The first part talks about the creation of world, man, the flood of Noah, and some other information related to the ancient patriarchs. Every chapter is the rearrangement of some ancient scroll or tale. Now, we are not focusing on how the text has been written. We'll talk about it in a dedicated series. What are we focusing on now is when and maybe why all this took place. Let's give a look to the chapters of Genesis. Number 1 is the creation of the world, we can say of nature. Number 2 is about the creation of humans' life forms. Number 3 is the tale of the serpent and of the so-called original sin. Chapter number 4 is the life of Adam and Eve outside the Garden of Eden, as the effects of Cain and Abel. Number 5 is the genealogy of the descendant of Adam up to Noah. Number 6 is the menace of the flood against sinners. Number 7 is the flood. Chapter number 8 is the repopulation of the world. Chapter 9 is the pact of the Elohim with Noah. You say, God, but remember that Genesis talk about different gods in different chapters, for it's a collage of various sources. Number 10 are the descendants of Noah, creating the so-called Table of Nations that try to build a common relationship between the various nations, that is, races, that populated the world at that time. Chapter 11 is about another culture coming from the east. They adore another god, Yehovah or Yahweh, and Terah took or adopted Abram as a son, and maybe as a student. Chapter 12. Then Abram went to a journey down the Palestinian coast up to Egypt, interacting with the Pharaoh. From chapter 13 to 49 is the life of Abram, up to the end of Genesis. That's an historical account taking place between Egypt, Canaan, and the inland of the Arabian Peninsula. Genesis 50 complete the narration with that of Joseph, grandchildren of Abram, embalmed and closed in a coffin in Egypt. So the point is, the book of Enoch was in use in Egypt by Abram, and even the historical part of Genesis took place in Egypt. We are so linked to Genesis 12 and following, maybe with the cult of Yahweh. It relates about the first priest, Seth, son of Adam, connected with Genesis 4 and the cult of Elohim. It is a very interesting book, and its innermost teaching is very easy. In 1 Enoch 72, it specifies that there was a Jubilee festival every 8 years. We are going to use just this simple information in order to analyze the book of Genesis and a little bit of the book of Exodus. To be radical, we could limit all the Bible to this original nucleus. All that comes later, from a religion point of view, can be considered history and politic, even of value. Many scholars of the biblical text have examined Genesis in an attempt to calculate the date of the creation of man, but the results don't match with the archaeological findings, as they limit to the 5th millennium before the Common Era the history of human beings. So materialists from the 19th century has thus considered the scriptures as historically useless material, thrashing even the religious meaning of the writings. Because objectively something does not square in the biblical data, aided by a wild millennial censorship by those who would have had to preserve and disclose such information, we set out down one step further. Considering the validity of the data collected by our predecessors, we have conducted an analysis of that integrity that is, the reconstruction of what is lost from putting together the pieces on pure time sequence basis. Such an investigation has demonstrated valid to detect various historical fractures, various points where, unfortunately, data are missing. Fortunately, however, the data we already have available allows us to proceed to an interesting reconstruction of many aspects of the scriptures to such a degree as to provide sufficient evidence so to date the birth of the Mediterranean basin religion, as well as of the Edom. The different approaches we have used helped us to reconstruct many elements we yet know from official history, and this way giving reliability to those pieces coming out from the reconstruction of which we were unaware before. The starting point of this research, the kick-off from the Book of Genesis, can be identified in the third substantial rule taken from Genesis 6:3. Then the Lord, the Elohim, said, "My spirit, or our spirits, will not remain in the flesh forever. Therefore, the years of man will be limited to 120. For this reason, the patriarchs, Adam before all, can in no way live longer than 120 Shani, or solar years, unless we wish to uphold the falsity of the scriptures as the evolutionary current is simplistically done. We must agree that the ages reached by them, of various centuries as expressed in Genesis, do not use the criterion of the solar years, but some different form of calculation. We will come to talk again about it in a future episode. To give an idea of the historical approximation that has to be simply accepted when studying the most remote eras, classical historians like Herodotus, Thucydides, and others place the Trojan War, a relatively recent episode compared to the facts of Genesis, variously between 1350 before the Common Era and 1250 before the Common Era. Could be said 100 years of deviation for an episode that occurred about 1,000 years before Herodotus, a 10% error based on documentary evidence. If you want to know more, subscribe to the Eternals Congregation channel and stay tuned for news. If you want to investigate the matter further, buy the book Dawn of the Gods, The Untold Timeline of Genesis on Amazon and in bookstores. Read it and discuss of it in your congregation or church. Thank you for listening.